Hi,
Hello, Nikki.
Jen. Oh, so good to see you again.
It's good to see you too.
I'm glad we get to come together and try to help people not go around the as big of a mountain or a mountain at all like we did, like we have.
Right. Right. Because I've gone around the mountain for 30 years.
Me too. Me too. And then, little mountain after little mountain after little mountain until I surrendered. And those little
Yes,
mountains, when we're getting to the age that we're getting, we don't have time to waste 2 years,
exactly.
three
Or
years.
10.
5 years, 10
Or 10.
years.
Right.
We don't have time for that anymore.
No, life is too short.
And I wish that I would have decided that when I was, 12, but unfortunately I decided it when I was 47.
I was pretty close to that age too. I
I
think there's
decided,
something that comes with age. You just get a little wiser.
yeah, yeah, at 47, I finally decide, God, your way is better.
Yeah,
I've tried to stay in denial as long as I possibly can, and
me
it's not
too.
working.
It's not working. Yeah. And to be honest, I got tired of living in survival mode. I felt like I was living in survival mode most of my life. And I'm like, this is not what God had planned for me.
No,
He wants us to have life and have it abundantly. And
not,
in order to have that, I had to get distractions out of my life.
yep. When you read the Bible and you learn his character and you learn what he wants for his children, you then know this is
Mhm.
not the life that he
No, this
wanted
is
for
not what
me.
he had for me or you or anybody listening to us.
Yep.
He has bigger and better plans than you could ever think or imagine.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, and it's it's a future that's full of peace and joy
There is nothing like this peace and joy.
and freedom. Freedom. Freedom
That's
from your own mind.
oh gosh.
Because my mind was constantly going round and round and round and round and round.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up because that kind of goes along with something that I've been thinking about, which is you know, what we've been talking about is distractions. The
Right.
daughters of the king
Or distracted.
being distracted, and he is saying, I want my daughters back.
Yeah. He's saying, wake
Jen,
up. I need you.
some of them don't even know they're distracted, though.
Oh, I know.
Like
Right.
like us.
I I didn't know. I was just living life, doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing.
Hmm. So, I think one of the most dangerous, they're all dangerous because they're symptoms, okay? But one of the scariest things, one of the things that bothers me right now about our sisters that are distracted, our sisters in Christ that are distracted, is they don't know that they're distracted. And part of the reason is because one of the scariest and most dangerous toxic type of relationship that you can be in is the one that's not mean.
Oh, yeah. That's a misconception that people think, well, my guy can't be a narcissist because he's not mean. He's a nice guy. He's nice.
He serves in the
And
church.
right. He helps people. He does things and he's just an overall good guy.
He
But
doesn't.
you have to take your blinders off because narcissists are not nice people. They pretend to be nice people.
Right.
They're very good at pretending.
Oh, they're very good at pretending. I mean, they start off in the relationship pretending at the very beginning,
Right.
pretending to mirror you and to be
Right.
exactly what you want.
Yeah.
So, what's normally going to happen a little while later after that is you're going to start to see the real them
Hmm.
poke their head out, but you don't think that that's the real them. You think the real them is who you first met.
Right. And
So,
let me just say this that I learned is that they can hide it for 2 to 3 years. So don't think it's going to show up the first day that like you get married or whatever. It can take a while
or
for
even a
them
year
to
later,
reveal.
they can still
Yeah,
be hiding it.
they can. Yeah. You just have to, if you're in a relationship and you're thinking there's something wrong with you because you just can't quite get them to be who they were in the beginning, you might start asking yourself some questions
Yes.
like,
Um,
does he build you up? And then does he tear you down? Then does he build you back up and tear you down and build you up and tear you back down
they fix you, they break
and
you.
break you?
They fix you, they break you.
Yes, it's a
So
cycle.
even if that looks like 1 minute I'm telling you,
So,
even if that looks like 1 minute I'm telling you, I don't want to be with you anymore.
mhm,
And 2 weeks later, I'm telling you, you know what?
I
I
just
thought
can't do
about
this.
things.
I
I
need
thought
you.
about it and I was wrong. Well,
Mhm,
okay, wait, let's not go that far. I thought about it and I realized something that I'm gonna work on or I need to, something
right,
that's changed my mind and
right. But they will, some of them will take blame.
that's true.
Not all of them, but some of them will say, I'm so sorry, I messed up. I really don't want this.
That's true.
Mhm,
Especially if you are a person that demands an apology.
that's true. Yeah,
They, some of them
some
will
people
do that.
don't require it. So it's going to depend on you.
Yeah, that's true.
If you need an apology, they will apologize to get back in your circle.
So then they've fixed you,
Hmm.
which builds up their ego.
Like it makes you feel like they can't live without you,
Yes.
almost.
But then they visibly see that you're happy.
Hmm.
They fix you and now you're happy and you're like,
Hmm.
oh, on cloud 9 again,
Yeah.
we're so in love. This is going to work. So
Yes.
that builds their ego
Yes.
internally. They think that they are, that gives them their worth.
Yes.
And then a
They
little
start
while later,
devaluing you.
they break you again.
Hmm.
I fix you, I break you.
Yeah. Let's
I
give an
fix you.
example. Let's give an example
Okay.
of what it would look like when they would break you down and then build you back up. I should have thought of one before I said that.
Well, even if that a lot of times they will learn the things about you that mean a lot to you. So if they know that you struggle with your weight,
Hmm.
then weight is something, and they don't even have to say it to you because remember, we're focusing on it today on narcissists who aren't mean. So
Right.
they don't have to say, you're getting fat, you know. They can
Right.
say something little like when you guys watch somebody walking by or trying to do something and they're overweight and they can say something like, um, you know, they can just say something demeaning about that person's weight or how
Right.
they're unhealthy or they don't take care of themselves or this or
Right.
that
Look
makes
how
them
they've let themselves go.
exactly. And when they already know that that's something that you deal with, don't think that they don't know exactly what they're saying.
Right. They're actually saying it to you.
Hmm. And that would be a way um, to devalue you,
Right.
a way to make you feel like you're not good enough.
Right.
So, and they're so smart. They watch you, they watch how you,
Your
even if you
reaction.
don't,
Uh-huh.
they know it bothers you, which
Sure.
also builds
Feeds.
up their ego.
It does.
That's the difference where we were talking about just a regular codependent who is not a narcissist, who cares how
Hmm.
they affect other people. A narcissist, they're going to tear you down because that
It
builds
makes
up.
them feel powerful. Makes them feel very powerful.
It does.
Hmm.
So going
And
back to
then,
the ones that aren't mean, okay?
okay.
I know you and I have talked before where we just in talking, and we're like, this one, he wasn't mean. But as we're talking, we're like,
Wait a minute.
yes, he was.
That's really mean. What
Yeah,
he's doing is really mean.
absolutely. So they don't beat you. They
Mm-mm.
don't cheat on you that you know of. Uh, they don't yell that fat
Right.
ugly pig or whatever it is that would
Right. They
demean
don't call
you.
you names
Yeah.
or, they don't yell at you
Tell you to
even at
shut
all.
up.
Right.
Don't call you names. So I'm sure there's someone sitting there going, well, how in the world could someone be a narcissist that doesn't do any of those things?
Right.
And that's because they're not dumb.
They're not. They're very, very smart.
I mean, any man who's ever been with me, and I've been with some that have treated me very poorly.
Me too.
I've I've never been with one that thought he could look at me and tell me to shut up
Oh, yeah.
because
No.
they know. You
Right.
don't
They
have
know
to
how far
know
they,
me very long to know that that's not going to fly.
right. They
You know what
know
I
how
mean?
far they can push you,
Exactly.
and they will push you to that very extreme limit,
Yep.
and then they'll pull you back in.
Yep. So they figure you out right off the beginning, right at the
Mhm.
beginning. So what's scary and dangerous about these types that aren't mean, when they find a person that they can't be mean to, they know they
Mhm.
can't keep that person if they're mean. If
Right.
they hit you or call you names, they know that you're out.
Right.
But they also see in you that you are the type that's going to try to help them and give them anything that they need, no matter what it does to you.
Right.
So they want you because you're valuable,
Yes.
because they
But they
want
don't want
something.
you to know that you're valuable.
No, 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 no. You're valuable to their emotional well-being.
Right.
So they see you as a jewel,
Yeah. They do.
um, not in a good way though. They see you
Mhm.
as someone who will constantly give them what they call in the narcissistic world supply, and
Right.
what we were calling in our codependent conversation was feeding was emotional support, constant
Yeah.
emotional support, whatever I need,
Yeah.
whether in that person. So
I mean, this is kind of a morbid way to say it, but they feed on you. They feed on your emotions. They feed on your kindness. They feed on your loyalty.
fears,
Yeah.
all of it. They feed on
They,
your loyalty, like you said. If
mhm,
they can make you cry, though, that also they feed off of that because that
they
makes them
do.
feel very powerful that they can control your emotions that way.
Hmm. Yeah. And sometimes they can even feed on making you angry.
Oh,
Some of them like
100.
to, some of them like to make you angry.
I know that because I've had three major relationships with narcissists. Only one of them was a marriage. And they're all going to be different relationships. Whether you're married or not is going to be have different dynamics to it. They're going to
Hmm.
treat you differently, and they're not going to be quite as mean, I don't think, when you're not married. I mean, depending on you.
It does.
But what I was going to say was, um, the marriage, since it was 20 years long, we got to a point where he couldn't get all of these other things from me,
Right.
emotional support, after I started focusing on God, and God started showing me to keep my eyes on him, and he started changing me, and he started teaching me how to not be moved emotionally by
Right.
whatever my
Right.
ex-husband did,
Right.
which I learned later in counseling. That's called gray rock. Whenever you do not let them make you mad, you don't let them make you unnecessarily happy, sad, mad. You don't let them control your emotions by the things that they do and say.
Right.
That's called gray rock.
Right.
Gray
And it's a
rock.
very good skill to learn how to do.
Oh, and like I said in one of our other videos, I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about narcissism when I was married to
Yeah.
my husband. And God taught me how to gray rock without me knowing what that was, without me
Right.
knowing my husband was a narcissist. I didn't know anything, and he taught me how to do it. So, to your point that sometimes making you mad is a way for them to feed their ego, that was all
Hmm.
my ex-husband had left, was making me
Right.
mad
Right.
to get some kind of supply from me.
Yeah.
And it would even take a lot there at the end. In
Hmm.
the second 10 years, it took a lot
Right.
to make me mad. And that would make him mad because
Oh,
he
yeah.
couldn't make me
Because
mad.
he's losing control. Yeah. When they start losing control, they can
Gray
get,
rock, gray rock will drive a narcissist insane
yeah, it will.
because they are not getting the supply that they need to feel worthy
Right.
to be alive.
Right.
Because remember, they don't have anything on the inside telling them that they're worthy because they're not talking to God every day. They're not reading their Bible and finding out that they are a daughter or a son of the King.
Hmm.
So they don't know the truth. So they think that demanding this supply is the only thing that makes them feel worthy.
Yeah. And when they're not getting it from you, they spiral. That's
Mhm. Which I also want to say that I would be praying and going to God and talking to Him before ever just straight going into gray rock. Because depending on the type of narcissist that you're with, that
right.
can be very dangerous.
It can be. Yeah. That's why it's so important to go to him because each one is different in their own way, especially because you're different. So you get two individual people together who've never been together before, everything is going to be different. There's
Hmm.
going to be a lot of like the playbook is still the same, but you're going to react different. They're going to react to how you react different. So that's why it's important to have the guidebook to help you maneuver through those stages without doing harm to yourself.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And the guidebook meaning the Bible, right?
Yes, absolutely. The Bible. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just so much. There's so many answers in there. And if you're one of those people thinking, what do you mean? I open it and it's listing off a bunch of names of kings. How is that helping me in my marriage? Pray
Right.
first
Yes.
and ask him. Tell him
Mhm.
you don't know how to read the Bible. Show
Right.
me where to
Show
start.
me what, yeah. And he will. Sometimes you'll just open it and it's right there. And you're like, oh, thank you.
And Jen, a passage that you've read over and over and over and over, and now you've asked him, will you please give me an
Right.
answer to what to do about this problem?
Help,
And you start
help
reading,
me.
and the answer is there in a passage that you've read.
It may be even one you have memorized, you know? And you read
Yes.
it again and you're like, oh my gosh, it's right there. How did I not see that before?
That's why they call it the living, breathing word of God,
Word.
because
Yes,
it's
because
alive. It's not
yeah.
just words on a page. It
Mm-mm.
changes with
It
you
does.
because it
It
was
does.
written for you.
It was.
Um, so talking about these nice narcissists and
Hmm.
how that's the scary day that we think of the scary, dangerous ones as being the ones that are abusive. They're
Hmm.
all abusing you in some way.
They are right. It's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. It can be spiritual because they can be beating you with scripture. You're supposed to be submissive, um, all kinds of things.
What I used to think when people would talk about other kind of abuse that wasn't cheating and wasn't verbally abusive and wasn't hitting me, I used to think, I remember wasn't calling me names, the ones
Hmm.
that everybody knows of. I used to think I can handle emotional abuse. Like, not that I would want emotional abuse, but nobody's going to emotionally abuse me. I can handle that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a
It
lie from the
is
devil.
dangerous. It is so, you are in it and trapped and can't get out
And you don't
before you
even know.
know it.
Yeah.
Um, and what that does to your brain when they fix you, they break you, they fix you, they break you. We've talked about this before, your brain is releasing different hormones
Right.
and stress related things to try to help you because you're in survival mode.
And you are. You are.
And you're so happy and relaxed whenever they fix you.
Oh, you're like, oh, finally. Yes, we're back to
Dopamine.
utopia. We're back to utopia. Yeah. And then back again.
So someone that's married to, or just someone, a daughter of the king who has a purpose on this earth, and God has a plan, wants her aligned so that he can tell her things and she'll obey. But she's in a relationship with a nice narcissist. So she probably thinks that any of their problems are her.
That's very common. Yeah. And
They,
well, and they make you feel like it's you.
they're very smart about that.
They are very smart about that. Like, how can I use this example? It was so I was in a relationship where it was a long distance relationship.
Hmm.
And um, it was, he was so accommodating and so nice in the beginning. And just, he was so excited to talk to me and all these things. And felt great. We spent
Hmm.
hours and hours and hours on the phone, FaceTiming, getting to know each other. And then it got to be where I had to, like, he expected a call at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had to give him 20 minutes of my time, or I I was being disrespectful, or I wasn't thinking about his feelings because I knew he needed that. So why wouldn't I do that for him? Because he's not asking a lot.
Right.
But if there's something else happening and I can't, and I don't, then he flipped a switch. And it was like, you are so selfish, so selfish. You're the most selfish person I've ever known. And so I start questioning myself. Am I being selfish? Or is he manipulating my time?
And making it an obligation.
It was an obligation. Yeah, because it made him feel important. And I mean, that was such a simple thing, but it was still, he wasn't being mean, but he was still demanding.
He wasn't being mean in terms of what the world would look at. He
It,
wasn't beating you, he wasn't cheating on you.
no. But
But
when I look
saying
back
that
on
you're
it,
selfish. Yeah, go ahead.
looking back on it, he was being mean. He was
Yeah.
calling me selfish, and I was not being selfish, but it made me think I was being selfish. So it did something to my brain.
Yeah.
And that was not nice.
No, and loving, it's not how we love,
It
you
is
know.
not loving. If I should have been able to say, you know what, I got a lot going on this morning. Can we skip? Can we just talk tonight? And that should have been okay. But
Yeah,
it was never okay.
because because you also had you also had
There's a lot going on in my life,
hmm
you know, a lot of things going on. So I was extremely busy. It was a it was a hardship to give him 20 minutes in the morning.
right. Yeah, you had a lot going on.
Yeah.
I mean, we have other family members, you know.
And one of them was very sick. One of mine was very, very sick. She had cancer. And um, that's when I started realizing that there was something different, is when he wasn't sympathetic to that.
You couldn't give him 100% of your attention.
And he actually became jealous of the person that was sick.
And it would be hard to explain to someone else what he was doing to you because he wasn't calling you names.
No,
He wasn't hitting you. He wasn't cheating on you. But at the same
no,
time, he was not being compassionate
no,
about your
not
family
supportive
member.
at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
supportive,
there
compassionate.
was no empathy, no, all it was is she's taking time away from me. And how dare you let that happen? I should be first.
And so while you're dealing with the emotions of her,
Hmm.
you're also now dealing with not being able to please this person.
Yeah. And I needed someone to be supportive. I needed him to be understanding and have empathy. And so he was being mean by withholding that
And
because I
treating,
wasn't giving him what he needed.
yeah, emotionally,
Hmm.
attention,
Hmm.
adoration,
Hmm.
those are their big ones.
Yeah.
So from the outside, someone might have been looking in, or even if you were telling someone, they might not be able to see the way that he was making you feel,
Right.
which is completely not how God would want his daughter to be treated.
No, no. And if you would step back and ask yourself and be honest with yourself, you know, hopefully you have a child in your life that this helps you understand. All you have to do is ask yourself if this was my daughter and she was in a relationship with someone like this, would you be happy about it? Would you be supportive of him? Would you be like, yes, you're treating my daughter perfectly? You wouldn't.
Wow.
You wouldn't. You
No,
would say that is not right, but you won't do it for yourself.
that's a really good point. That right there tells you it has to start with your healing.
It does.
I mean, it starts with turning our eyes away from, I'm just going to keep you saying this because I think it's funny. It's not funny, but taking our eyes off the guy in the recliner and putting them
That's
on
right.
on God.
God. Yeah.
Because then he's going to show you
Hmm.
that you need to heal.
Yeah.
And then going back to your example, how hard is it to put to to keep your eyes on God and to be focused on and listening to what God wants you to do when somebody is demanding that much of your time?
Right. Yeah. But yet it wasn't just in the morning. So, I don't want to make it seem like it was just 20 minutes a day. It was every free moment I had,
Hmm.
he was demanding. And I mean, I couldn't even drive from one job to the next without being on the phone.
Hmm.
And um, the minute I got home, God forbid I get dinner before I call, or throw in a load of laundry or, you know, um,
Yeah, I do. And I know what you mean because I had one like that. And then, but you know that I know that there are women sitting out there going, well, mine doesn't care if he talks to me or not. So he must not be, blah, blah, blah. But if you're having to do things to keep him happy,
mhm,
I've talked before about the checklist that I had in my brain
yes.
of have I done this, and I didn't even realize I was doing it, but
Hmm.
I knew where he was, I knew how long it'd be till he got home, and I am like, what's going to set him off when he gets home?
Right. Right.
Now he didn't demand any of my attention. He didn't want me going and doing anything fun. He wanted me
Right.
home, but not so he could talk to me.
Right. He just wanted you there. He just
He
wanted
wa-
your presence. Yeah. That's the thing is they all have something different that they need.
Mhm.
So that's where the prayer comes in. You have to ask God, okay, show me. And if you really start digging, and listening to yourself, you're going to know. I knew I wasn't comfortable with that. I
Yeah.
knew that it was not healthy. And I would say things like, it's not my job to make you happy. And he would say things like, but it is your job to, like, if I need that connection. And so I need that. So that is your job. And
Ugh,
I, it's it's not your job to make another human happy. You can
you
never do it.
can't.
You can never do it.
Even a good person, someone that's not a narcissist, it's not your
Healthy
job to
people,
make them happy.
healthy people can't make other people happy.
Mm.
You can have times of happiness together, but you cannot asking another human to make you happy
And you know that I need this, so you should be doing this. No, he should be looking at God.
and saying, why do I feel this way?
Exactly. God,
Yes.
what do I do? Show
What
me. Yeah, heal
what am
me.
I missing? What am I missing in here that I'm demanding it from someone else when I should be getting it from you? Yeah, but he
Heal
wouldn't do
me. I surrender it. It's not
that.
working. It's making my
Right.
life
There's something
miserable.
not right. Yeah. But instead, they blame
And hijack your emotions
and
and
hijack your
hold
emotions.
them hostage. Because that's what I
Mhm.
was feeling from you when you were talking a minute ago. I was just feeling like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, that's so smothering.
It was smothering. Yeah, my counselor actually said it was emotional. He was holding me emotionally hostage. And when she said those words, I was like, that's exactly how I feel. But she put a word to it, you know?
Yes. And
And
then
he was so nice. He was so nice. Everybody that knew him, like, oh,
I,
he's the nicest guy you'll ever meet.
I was going to
And he
say, I
was.
met him. He was nice.
He was nice, but he was also unhealthy. So
And holding one of God's daughters of the king hostage.
hostage is not okay.
No, that's some answering. I don't want to answer to that. I
Mm-mm.
don't want to hold anyone hostage
No,
emotionally or physically or anything, spiritually.
no. Well, it's not true love.
They found a person that they thought would do it
Hmm.
despite what it's doing to you.
Yeah,
And it's only when you say, I don't, this isn't
I can't.
right,
Yeah,
and you
I can't
stand
keep
up,
this up. Yeah.
is when there's a problem.
Hmm. And it became a huge problem.
Wow. The dangers of a nice narcissist.
Yeah. And well, he hid his narcissism for 2 years.
And then did it, but were there red flags at the beginning?
Yes, absolutely. But you ignore them
We ignore them because
because
it
our
feels so
soul's
good.
connected and he checked off all the boxes.
Oh my gosh. It's,
Yeah.
and people don't realize you don't meet the reason narcissism works, the reason the enemy uses it as a ploy to distract the daughters and sons of the king is because it works.
It
You don't
does.
meet a narcissist, they don't shake your hand and go,
Yeah.
I'm going to be real
I'm good.
nice to you at first, and then I'm going to turn around and be a huge jerk.
Oh, you should. What was that video that you sent me of that guy? He's sitting at the table and he said what a narcissist would say if they were honest at the table. I mean, it was hilarious,
And true.
but it was so true. It was so true.
I'm going to mirror you and so that you think that you've met your soulmate, you've met someone just like you.
Yeah, it was so good. We should look
Oh,
that up and share that next time.
that was great. That was great, but it's
It's
true.
really good. Yeah.
Narcissists don't walk up to you and tell you what they're going to start doing to you in a year or two.
No,
You would never get with them.
you would walk away
It's
and
always
never
great
look
in the
back.
beginning.
Mhm. Yeah.
And sometimes being too great should be a red flag. And I could look at my own. experience where
Mm.
he was buying me everything. And he
Right.
was taking me to do this, and he was talking about the traveling that we were going to be doing,
Hmm.
you know?
That just brought to mind to me is one of the red flags is if they tell you something very personal about themselves that's like traumatic in their life.
Hmm.
Isn't that's like one of them. So you kind of, if you start, if you learn some of the red flags, then you can be aware when you're talking to them in the beginning,
Yes.
and maybe it will keep you from getting sucked in.
Because Jen, we've had some traumatic things happen to us in our childhood. Do
Yes.
you, when you very first meet a person, do you just start telling them all about the traumatic things that have happened in your childhood?
No,
No.
no.
I mean, it takes me a minute for me to trust
Mhm.
you and know. And honestly, now, I mean, that's only going to come up. I don't even know. I don't even know. Like with narcissists, they always want to make sure that they tell you. It doesn't have to be in their childhood. It can also be in a past relationship, the trauma that they had, that person cheated on them or left them or
That was
abused them.
mine. That was mine. His wife cheated on him. So he was very insecure. So he made me feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I don't have a problem doing these things to keep you feeling secure because I
Yeah.
have nothing to hide.
And then
So
that's
it's no
guilt.
big deal. And that's how it starts.
Using guilt to, because
Uh-huh.
they choose the type of person that they think is going to do it no matter what it does to you. You're going to care about them more than yourself
Hmm.
because that's how we were.
Hmm.
We were codependent. So we cared about other people more than we cared about ourselves because that
Hmm.
kept the person. If we could do everything that we needed to do, it kept that person there so that we also were getting what we needed.
Hmm. Exactly.
I also want to point out that, um, sometimes in these relationships, God gives us a gift of
Yes.
showing us something about that other person.
Yes.
We don't always view it as a gift. We view it as something bad. And I'm sure
Hmm.
a, a Christian would probably even think it's an attack from the enemy.
You could think that.
You could. But so I'm going to give an example kind of just someone that I've heard of before, okay?
Okay.
That they husband and wife going through some rocky times, but he screenshots something and sends it to her on his phone,
Okay.
forgetting that he has a screensaver saved on his phone of another woman that he's seeing. So when she gets this, it's devastating, right?
Right.
It's absolutely devastating.
Right.
And also, that is a gift
It was a gift.
from her father who loves her that is saying, "Get out now."
Out. Right. Because this is what he really is.
This is what he really is because
Hmm.
God knows hearts,
He does. He knows motives.
motives, intentions.
Yeah.
If a person even has any intention of ever changing or wanting to be good, wanting to be a good person.
Right.
Um, I think that there are people who would disagree with that, that's a gift and that's telling you to get out now.
Right.
Don't waste another, but hindsight, I mean, I had had enough healing and enough to know when I saw that to know what it was.
Right.
But when you don't and you're hanging on to what the world says, about and what the church says about marriage and divorce
Yeah.
and all the things. It's very confusing and very hard, and you don't look at that as a gift. But when you put it together with all of the other red flags and behaviors, pay attention to their
Yeah.
behaviors.
Right. Yeah. And you might have gotten a gift like that or something similar and you've ignored it or just let it devastate you and not process it for what it is
And think that it's because of you,
and think
something
it's
that
because
you've done wrong.
Mhm. Right.
I can see in your example that if you would have ever found something like that, he could easily say that it was because you weren't calling him
Attention.
every day, and
Right.
so he didn't feel loved.
You weren't giving me the attention I needed, so I had to find it somewhere.
Yeah,
It's your fault.
yeah.
Yeah.
In the example that I was using, hindsight, it was another if she could have known, which, you know, it was going to take her around another mountain that was going to be a 2 or 3 year mountain
Yeah.
to go around instead of taking God's hand and just going
Right.
right over it.
Right.
So,
I
um,
was in a 12-year relationship like that. And he gave me those gifts over and over and over again. And I was so unhealthy at that point that I was desperate. I just did anything to cling to him.
we wanted any of those scraps.
Yes,
Breadcrumbs is what they
they
give.
were yes, breadcrumbs for sure. It was just enough to keep you hanging. And I did that for 12 years.
We want, when we're unhealthy, we want those breadcrumbs and we want the dopamine from with the
Yeah,
fix,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. I was just desperate for love. And I was looking for it from a man instead of my savior.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for opening up and sharing and being here with me to rescue these daughters that
Oh,
some of them don't even know they need rescuing.
I know. I'm so grateful he rescued me.
Me too. He rescued me.
He did, me too. I'm so grateful.
And I see it now, you know.
Yeah. One of our videos, we need to talk about red flags and just do a one just on that so we can maybe help people recognize them.
Okay. I'm going to put that in my notes
Okay.
and we can use some examples of our red flags because I think examples are huge.
They are.
Because I know for me, when I was healing, um, God showed me so many, he's going to meet you where you are.
Mhm.
And I went to counseling, but I was also watching YouTube videos.
Yes.
He used those YouTube videos to open my eyes to things that had happened in my relationships that I didn't even remember.
Right.
So
Right.
when we share our examples and people's brains start clicking like, oh yeah,
I
I,
re
you
I
know,
recognize that.
I remember something like
Mhm.
that. I used to have to stop the video and let my mind go back and remember how the whole thing played out. Not to live in the past. We're not living in the past.
No.
When you're in a situation where you're so distracted, you can't even take 10 minutes out of the day to talk to the person who created you,
Mhm.
there's a problem.
Yeah.
And your brain has a lot of healing to do.
And your heart.
And the first step is acknowledging it.
Hmm.
You have to remember, you have to realize some of the things that you're going through, some of the things you've already been through to acknowledge that there's a problem.
Right. That's step one for transformation is acknowledging that there's a problem.
Yeah. and admitting.
Yeah.
We have to acknowledge it. We have to admit it to ourselves or just admit it
Mhm.
to God.
Yeah.
Just start there. Say, God, I realize there's a problem here. I can't focus
You
on.
may go ahead.
No, that was basically what I was going to say.
I was just going to say, you may not even be able to put it into words,
Yeah,
but he's still going to get it. He knows. So you can just say, God, something's not right. That's what I did. It's like, God, there's something not right here. What am I missing? What is wrong? I kept saying, what's wrong with me? What is wrong with me? And then he started showing me nuggets.
you're right. He will. You don't even have to be able to put it into words.
You don't.
The second that he sees you take your eyes off of that
Mhm.
and put it to him, even thinking about, I need to put my eyes on God. He knows, he sees that.
He's like, finally.
Yes,
Thank you.
my daughter's coming around.
Yeah.
Yep, because he loves us so much.
Hmm.
He loves his daughters. He loves his son. He loves everyone. He wants everyone to turn to him,
He does, even the narcissist.
even the narcissist. He does not want the narcissist to not come be with him in heaven. He doesn't want
Right.
anyone, he doesn't want that for anyone to be away from him because he knows what it's going to do to us to be away from him.
Right. Yeah. Um, I'm going to add that I would highly recommend Michael Todd from Transformation Church did a series called Damaged but Not Destroyed. He
Oof.
actually wrote a book,
Wrote a book.
and that sent me on my second journey of healing. And I truly believe God uses him as a mouthpiece. It was a very powerful series. And like I said, when he said, what's not transformed is transferred, changed my entire life
Mhm.
because a light bulb went on. And I
It's
went, that's
so
it.
true.
I was like, that's it, God. No more playing games. We need to fix this because I don't want this on my children and my
I don't want to
grandchildren.
transfer this to my children and my grandchildren.
I do not. Yeah. So anyway,
Wonderful. I love you.
love you too.
I love everyone. I,
Yes, we're so grateful that you're here and watching.
yes,
I hope that you're getting something from it.
yes. And if you know someone that you feel like would benefit from this, you can share it with them. You're not seeing it on accident.
No, just know you're not alone.
You're not alone and you're not
You're
crazy.
not alone. There are thousands of women out there doing the same thing.
I would say millions.
There probably is.
He's
Yeah,
he's put it, he's had it on my heart for way too long. Out of 8 billion people in the world, there are millions of daughters
who are distracted.
that are distracted and feel like they can't do anything right.
Yeah, and they're not worth anything.
Mhm.
And that is
This
not
is
true.
it. This is the only life I get. I
Yeah,
guess I'm just gonna be here with
stuck
him until I die,
forever.
with him
Yeah,
telling me that I'm not making him happy.
yeah,
So there's more out there,
yeah, there's hope.
and God's just waiting.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Everyone have a wonderful evening, and we will talk to you again soon.
Yes, God bless.
God bless you.